What's up, guys? Welcome back to Keeping Up with the X-Men. As I said, in order to catch us up, we're going to do these easier videos for a while. So let's get into it. We are on Phoenix Resurrection number 2. Bringing Jean Grey back. Let's go into this. Okay, it starts us off. We're in outer space, and this guy's working on a satellite or part of the station or something of that sort, when all of a sudden there's a big fire explosion on the moon and it looks all crazy, and he's like, oh my god, do you guys see this? Because this is crazy. When we go back to the girl that's Jean, I don't know, possibly, more than likely it is. I'm starting to think that what's going on here is that Jean has been brought back, but like, we've seen the weird adult spirit Jean Grey that's running around in the Jean Grey books, and I'm wondering if maybe like it's something like, though she's been brought back until she bonds with that spirit entity, or until the Phoenix actually bonds with her or something like that. Maybe her memories are screwed up, but her powers are still active, and while she's kind of gaining memories or something, that she's kind of, something weird is going on. Anyways, she's sleeping, and she has like this nightmare, and all of her stuff is floating and then crashes to the ground. It scares her. She wakes up. She goes on with her day. She goes out to, she's kind of late for work. She runs out. She's going to the car. She gets in. She's kind of asking people. She's like, she's like, do you guys feel that earthquake last night? And they're like, there was no earthquake. We have no idea what you're talking about. So while she's on her way to work, we go back to the Xavier Institute. And it is here at the Xavier Institute that they start talking about the fact that they kind of think they know what's going on, but they're still not 100% sure, and they don't want to just say this is what's happening. They don't want the possibility that they're going to say something and then it's not going to be right, or they're going to jinx something or something of that sort. But they've run out of psychics, and they don't know what to do. They're in trouble now. They need a psychic, and the only guy that volunteers, the only guy they have for that matter, is Cable. He's like, well, I can use Cerebro. And they're like, are you sure about that? And he's like, I can do it, whatever. So Arnold Schwarzenegger, Cable, I'll do it. Small note here in the artwork that really caught my attention. I love what they're doing with Storm. I love that she has that long, like, face again, that cat face thing that was going on. I like that. That's my Storm. That feels like a throwback to the first appearance of Storm. Her face is kind of long. It goes in. She's got the cheek things going on. She's got the cat face kind of thing with the eyes and everything now. That is my Storm. That's the way I like her to be. Not a big deal, but I thought I would bring it up. We go back to the restaurant, okay, where Jean, our new Jean, whoever this is, the Jean, adult Jean, maybe. Yeah. She's at work. Now, while she's at work, Magneto actually shows up. And he actually says, he's like, do you have a rough night, Jean? And it's weird that he's talking to her like this. Like, he knows that she's back, but he's not going to tell her. And he's just like, it's a really weird scene, because she takes his order, she gets him some coffee and whatnot, she's going to go get him the lumberjack meal, and then she leaves to go pick up his food in the back of the kitchen. At this exact same time, Cable attempts to use Cerebro. There's a feedback in it. It shocks his brain. He goes, rabba, 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 and then he falls down, and he's done. He's done. He's out. He's out of commission. Jean comes back with this guy's food, Eric's food, Magneto's food, and he's not there. He's gone. And she's like, well, why would he just leave? What's going on? So she takes his food back, and she's like, man, I don't know what that was about. This guy, he knew who I was or whatever. And then, I mean, I guess I'm wearing a name tag, but I don't understand. Well, we then go, of course, back to the Xavier Institute again, and Kitty picks out a couple of teams for us. Now, these teams are going to the Jamaica Bay. They're going to the ruins of Genosha. They're going to the New York City sewers of Manhattan, and they're going to the Savage Lands. All of these are different parts that were important to the Phoenix sagas in general and things of that nature, mostly Jean Grey history, and for that matter, major X-Men history points along the way, such as like the Jamaica Bay is where the Phoenix rose. That's where the craft went down, where she came out of, and where they found the egg thing that would later turn out to be Jean sleeping at the bottom of the Jamaica Bay, and so on and so forth. And then, of course, the Savage Lands, that was a big part apart like for a while there. You can see that's where Wolverine kind of took shape, when we really seen him use the claws and tear people up and kill a couple people, and the X-Men were just kind of like, whoa, because up until that point, Wolverine had only had one major real moment where he like killed somebody. They kind of make it like they make it through retcons that he tore through the Hellfire Club and killed a bunch of people. When you read that, it is an amazing comic. But because of the way comics were done at the time, you never really got to see Wolverine cut off arms or anything like that. That was just not the way it was done. The Savage Land is kind of where they really flushed him out. And then, of course, there's the Ruins of Genosha, and then we got the sewers is going to deal more with different aspects of the X-Men, such as the Morlocks and things of that nature. But long story short, because there was no reason for me to go into all that detail, they go off to their areas, and at the same time, Iceman and a separate team go back into the mansion. Because they were not given teams, necessarily. I mean, they look like they are a team, and they're talking about they might go to Arizona or something of that nature, and they start walking up the staircase when they actually see the old Magneto. We're talking hardcore, original. This is red and purple. This is the Man of Man. This is the Magneto, hardcore, original Magneto. And he descends upon them, and they're like, so are we cool? Is this like, because, me and you and us and X-Men and complicated history, and the last time, you were kind of helping us, and the blue team leaders are like, we're friends, right? And then all of a sudden he starts tearing up the house, and they're like, nope, not friends. So they bolt in all directions. They try to fight him for what it's worth. One person takes a pretty big shot at him, like blows off a portion of his arm, and then like the arm like regrows. It like repairs. To be fair, this is not Magneto, I don't believe, anyway, because like they take a chunk off of him, and all he does is kind of like his arm just goes back to being okay. Goes back to being perfect. And he even makes a reference when the all-new Wolverine attacks him. He's like, that seems really familiar somehow. And then he's got her in like his, his magnetic grip or whatever, and she kicks him right in the neck. And it goes through like his chin and up the top of his head. He's dead. If he's the Magneto, he's dead. He doesn't survive this. It's over. He's done. So yeah, look at that. That's crazy. She just nailed him. He's done. But right after this hit, we go back to the restaurant. And Eric is once again sitting there. She's sitting there doing the counter, and Eric is like, hey, sorry, I kind of had to go to the bathroom or whatever. And she's like, oh, I thought you left, and blah, blah, blah. And she comes over, she gives him coffee. She's like, I'll go back and get your food. And he's like, yeah, that's cool. And she says, you're bleeding. Your nose is bleeding. And he's like, oh, sorry. And he kind of, does like that. And he gets himself his napkin. And he kind of does up his nose. And he's like, yeah, it's an injury from the war. And she's like, you were in the war? Because she's kind of like wondering what he's talking about. Like, what war in general? And he's like, yeah, I was. Then he says, you seem to be feeling a bit better already. No. And she's like, yeah, I think. And then she looks out the window. And it is pandemonium. Like her world is on fire. There's no other way to put it. Her world is on fire. Now, like I said, what I think is going on here is that I think this is Jean Grey. And I think that she has come back. But I think that there's something else going on top of all this, too. I think that she is, without a doubt, the Jean Grey. But I think something's going on because of the way that she was resurrected. And I think her memories are manifesting along with her powers, which are creating a type of illusion. And if she really has been brought back with the power of the Phoenix, which that's the rumor I'm hearing, it would make sense that she could create illusions and bring back the dead for limited specks of time and whatnot. That could very well be Adult Scott or Memory Scott that she kind of brought back from that point. And then he'll just go away as soon as she starts realizing what she is, or as soon as, I don't know exactly. This is wild. This is a wild, wild moment in X-Men. They've brought her back before, and they'll kill her again, just like they always do. It is what X-Men does. Sadly, I know that her coming back is going to be temporary. They're going to bring back one of my all-time favorite characters. They're going to give her a little while, and then they're going to kill her. It's the history of the X-Men. When Jean Grey comes back, especially if she's connected to the Phoenix, she has to die. She has to die, and then she has to come back, and then she has to die, and she has to come back. And that's the reason they left her dead for so long. Because they don't know. It's almost like the writers don't know what to do with her. If you bring her back and you give her the power of the Phoenix, who can fight her? Who? Nobody can fight her. Nobody. There's nobody that can contend with that. And at the same time, if you do stories where she gets beat by random Morlock super strength guy or something, well then now it just seems stupid, and you're like, there's no way she has the power of the Phoenix. Phoenix is a god. And so this brings up all kinds of problems where a lot of these writers, they just avoid Jean Grey. And now there's the idea to bring her back and give her her own team, but you got to wonder what kind of issues that's going to cause. And are they going to find a way to take away the Phoenix Force, or will it go dark and we'll repeat the entire concept again, or will it leave her and go to somebody else, and then that person will become a Dark Phoenix, and they'll have to find a big giant X-Men event, and they'll have to kill whoever that is, or whatever. I don't know. It's got its own problems, this story arc. It really does. And it comes from the history that we've acquired over the time. It is what it is. We're not going to escape this. So the best thing we can do is enjoy what they're showing us and have fun with it. And when Jean Grey is back and the team is ready and we got the X-Men red, we'll see where it goes from there. We can't crap on this before it started. We have to give it an opportunity to get started. We have to get through this story arc and see where they're going with this. And who knows, maybe we'll be pleasantly surprised. I hope so, myself. I really do. I got high hopes for Jean Grey coming back. Could just be because she's my favorite character, but hey, we all have our favorites. That's the way it is. And for right now, you are all caught up with Jean Grey Resurrection. Later on.